Imagine waking up to discover the coffee that you used to buy for loose change now costs as much as a fancy brunch for four. Now, picture that same sticker shock feeling, but for one digital coin that everyone keeps debating at family dinners, XRP. Yeah, it's that kind of draw-drop moment, and we're unpacking it all today. Now, this might just shock you, but I am not a financial advisor, and nothing in this video is financial advice. Cryptocurrencies are highly volatile, and you could lose all of the money that you invest. You should always do your own research and consult a qualified professional. Your investments are entirely your responsibility, and you should know that nothing is ever guaranteed when it comes to investing. Neither I, this channel, nor YouTube are liable for any losses, and today's video is for entertainment and educational purposes only. If you got that, great. Right, let's time travel. In fact, flashback to June 11th, 2020. The world was still kind of baking banana bread, streaming way too many and too much TV and kind of fiddling with some sourdough starters while XRP quietly traded around 19 cents. Now, I had a kind of beat up laptop on the kitchen counter, no joke, a half kind of spilled mug, and a kind of wild idea. What if I grabbed 10,000 XRP for science, shall we say? I actually grabbed more, but we're going to stick with nice round numbers, 10,000 XRP, just for science. Now, it would, of course, have set me back $1,900, basically the cost of a second-hand bicycle and a few Uber Eats splurges. Now, back then, $1,900 kind of felt like a mini mountain, but nothing too outrageous. You can skip ahead 2 years, and I'd probably have some bragging rights at kind of casual meetups, right? Hey, remember those coins? Yeah, still holding. But if you fast forward to June 11th, 2024, pandemic kind of haircuts were just embarrassing memories. But, the market had some other plans. XRP kind of ticked up to 48 cents, right? The same 10,000 piece kind of dream would actually now be worth $4,800, basically a decent vacation or one less impulsive decision on upgrading your phone. Again, I remember kind of glancing at the charts and thinking, double? That's not bad, but maybe I'll wait for a dip, right? Spoiler, dips have a funny way of kind of leaving town the second that you blink. And then came the firecracker moment between November 2024 and January 2025. XRP didn't just walk, it sprinted. It pulled a 600% relay and high-fived the $3.40 pole like it was climbing Everest in sneakers. Now, every crypto chat room kind of lit up like a holiday tree. Your aunt, who once confused XRP with that new energy drink, suddenly rambled on about bullish pennants. And me? I was the kind of meme guy, face palming my own, hesitation. If I had kind of seized 10,000 tokens at 19 cents, I'd be kind of sitting on 34 grand at that peak, enough to kind of finance a tiny house or at least a lifetime supply of celebratory tacos. Enter 2025, right? We cooled off a little bit here, right? Price corrections are like winter. They're inevitable. Now, sometimes harsh, sometimes oddly kind of beautiful. Now, XRP kind of relaxes around $2.20-ish, right? That's far from its January climax, but still a skyscraper compared to the 2020 bungalows, right? Now, today, 10,000 XRP will cost you $22,900 approximately. That's about $19,000 more than it was 5 years ago, and roughly $18,100 pricier than just last year. So if that doesn't make your eyebrows kind of do some pull-ups, you probably should check your pulse. And it's at this point that we're going to cue Edoardo Farina, the unofficial hype conductor. Now, he kind of keeps shouting from every rooftop, snag 10,000 XRP whilst it's cheap. In his math, fiat's crumbling like day-old kind of croissants, and digital assets resemble the sturdy kind of thermos that nobody kind of talks about until the coffee stays hot for hours. Now, Farina's kind of latest mic drop is 99% of retail people might actually get priced out if they snooze. That's a polite way of saying You'll blink and the ladder will be gone. But not everyone is singing along. Australian attorney Bill Morgan, flicked on the courtroom spotlight and said, hold up, people can always buy, even if it's pennies, of XRP, Touché, Bill. He's got a point, right? Fractional ownership does exist. Still, Farina's kind of doubling down here, clarifying that he's worried about large stakes becoming unicorns. Right now, coughing up 23 grand for a kind of round 10,000 XRP feels like booking maybe a luxury safari instead of grabbing a couple of burgers. It's the kind of psychological sticker shock that scares people away, even if they technically could actually grab a slice. All right, so let's humanize all of these numbers, because spreadsheets rarely speak inspiration, right? Let's picture two college buddies. We'll call them Jess and Mark. Now in 2020, Jess skipped a few Friday night pizzas, scrounged up $1,900 and bought 10,000 XRP. Mark laughed and said, I'd rather buy a new PlayStation, and forgot Crypto Circus. Right? Fast forward to 2025, Jess's stash, well, even after the kind of post-peak dip, is worth $22,900. Mark's console is collecting dust while he kind of compensates spending the same 20, or at least contemplates, I should say, spending the same 20 plus grand just to catch up. And here is the punchline, right? Opportunity sometimes looks like a kind of cheesy discount flyer until time turns it into a vintage collector's item. Now, before your palms all get sweaty, let me kind of weave in a problem that we're all going to wrestle with, and that is analysis paralysis. Now, do you leap from $2.29, right? Wait for a dip, that kind of may never actually come or never even send you a postcard? Or do you diversify like that friend who orders every appetizer because FOMO tastes better than regret? There's where it's kind of where the community really matters, right? So do you remember our free educational Discord server? Yeah, the link that's chilling in the description. Well, it's like a 24/7 study group where you can kind of throw questions, you can debate charts, and even share meme therapies, when candles turn red. You can pop in, you could lurk, you could lead. Just promise that you'll actually bring some curiosity and maybe even a dad joke or two. All right, it's time to talk about some opinions. So I personally use Blofin, right? Crypto exchange. There's an affiliate link lounging around in the description down below. Now, to tinker with altcoin experiments is generally what I tend to use it for. But here's a full disclosure. Using that link actually tosses a few pennies into our channel's tip jar, which actually fuels the caffeine habits and obviously keeps these deep dives rolling. So if you'd rather not, there's no hard feelings. But if you do, then high five for supporting the content that you're watching right now. All right, let's get back to the saga. Right, let's process 600%. That kind of climb can, it kind of turns whisperers into, well, headline addicts, right? Surges of that magnitude, they reshape investor psychology faster than a double shot espresso. So suddenly dreams inflate. People ask, is $10 possible? 50? Moon, right? And of course they anchor to the kind of peak, and they treat anything below it as cheap, right? So swatting away the very zoomed out view that shows how far we've actually already come. Now, perspective is pretty tricky. It's kind of like staring at Everest from the base camp and forgetting that you're already 17,000 feet above the sea level. Now, macro junkies, here's your tidbit. Right, Farina wonders, is XRP soaring because it's inherently more valuable, or is it Fiat just melting away like ice cream on the asphalt? And that's the kind of existential kind of Fiat dread, and it is real, right? Ever kind of glanced at grocery receipts lately, right? Milk kind of sneaks up faster than your phone bill's storage alert. So maybe part of XRP's price isn't purely demand. It's the measuring stick itself, where the ruler is actually shrinking, right? And everything else just looks taller. So let's mine the numbers again, right? Buying 10,000 XRP tokens today could cost 12 times more than it did in 2020. Yet an average investor's salary hasn't, exactly multiplied by a dozen, has it, right? And that is why the priced out narrative is actually kind of something that resonates. We're witnessing wealth gates inch upwards like VIP velvet ropes at an exclusive club. Now, it doesn't stop people from getting a ticket, but it does just make it, the front row seats, I guess, that extra little bit rarer. All right, so it's time for me to share a very quick anecdote. Last month, a cousin texted me, should I chase the full 10K or settle for a smaller bag? Now, I told him the same thing that I'm going to tell you. You got to figure out what doesn't keep you up at night. If staring at a red candle triggers, dread, then maybe you should inch in gradually. Think of it like building Lego towers brick by brick instead of dumping the whole set at once and stepping on a kind of stray piece. Bruised foot, bruised ego, you can choose. And of course, we can't ignore the pendulum of sentiment, right? January's $3.40 euphoria kind of birthed bold predictions. Next stop, $5. Then February whispers kind of turned into March mumblings as price slid into the $2 lows. But here is the twist. Analysts in the kind of piece argue that the 2018 style nuclear winter is a thing of the past, hinting at the eventual kind of staircase upwards rather than a roller coaster down. Now, it's like kind of watching a TV series that had one disappointing season, but suddenly hired top writers. Right? The plot line still matters, but the direction feels more cohesive. So let's get ready for 60 seconds, and I promise it'll be painless. If something gains 600% in 3 months, a healthy pullback is common. It's physics, right? What goes up sometimes needs to actually catch its breath. So the run to $3.40 was a sprint. The kind of $2.29 consolidation kind of feels like a jog in the, jog kind of walk intervals while the market kind of still sips water. Now, could we retest $1.50? Maybe. Could we catapult to $4 next quarter? Also, maybe. And that is the seesaw and why risk management is not a buzzword. It's your crypto seatbelt. So let me paint a climax moment then, right? Picture the announcement of a hidden airdrop or a regulatory breakthrough blessing Ripple's corridors in more countries, right? News drops, charts ignite, and suddenly that $22,900 entry looks like a savvy pit stop on the highway to a bigger number, right? Or maybe it's just the kind of blink on the journey. You refresh, you see green fireworks, and your group chat kind of devolves into gifs of people dancing in the moon suits. That is euphoria. Cherish it, but please don't marry it. Then reality does come knocking. Some folks sell, pocket some profit, and brag. Others hold until the dream either, crystallizes or pops. And that's the beauty here. There's no universal playbook, only principles. Like never bet rent money, stay curious, and, as I say, I don't know more than trust me, bro. Now, as we kind of coast towards the summary here, remember why stories like this matter. In 2020, $1,900, it felt hefty, right? In 2024, $4,800 felt like, manageable, but maybe tomorrow. And in 2025, $22,900 feels like a down payment. Time doesn't change the asset, it changes us, our perception, our risk tolerance, our wallets. So that's the takeaway. Opportunity wears disguises. Sometimes they look like spare change. Sometimes they appear as kind of a daunting wire transfer. Your job, of course, is to decide which mask you're comfortable facing. And hey, community is the cheat code. So jump into the free educational Discord server. Links playing hide and seek in the description. And ask your tough questions down there, right? Share your wins and, of course, your facepalm moments. We're learning, out loud together, because silence in crypto is where confusion grows like weeds. And before we wrap up, shout out again to the Blofin crypto exchange. The affiliate link is in the description below. And if you plan on stacking, swapping, or just kind of snooping around their dashboards, using the link in the description throws a few, bit of loose change into the channel's kind of coffee fund, and of course helps keep these stories flowing. Transparency for the win. All right, let's land this plane. 5 years took XRP's 10K starter pack from weekend side hustle money to I need serious spreadsheet territory. Will it kind of triple again? No crystal ball here, just patterns, probabilities, and your own due diligence, right? Whether you grab a whole pizza or a single slice, the feast is yours to savor. So if this breakdown has kind of lit a bulb in your head, or at least made you laugh at the banana bread nostalgia, tap the subscribe button so that you don't miss the next rabbit hole. And I'll catch you in the Discord. So stay curious and keep those bags packed for whatever adventure crypto cooks up next.